Now, the BBC is caught up in a furious ageism row after axing radio DJ Steve Wright after over 2 decades. That's in favour of a younger presenter. So the 67-year-old host has been turfed from his much-loved BBC Radio 2 afternoon show in favour of 49-year-old Scott Mills because bosses want to, quote, try something different in the slot. Revealing the youth-obsessed Beeb's decision live on air, the axed veteran's disappointment was palpable.
Try not to become emotional or self-indulgent. This is going to be a little bit difficult. At the end of September, I'll be taking a break from daytime radio. In other words, stepping down from this programme. At the beginning of this year, my friend and boss, Helen Thomas, head of Radio 2, said she wanted to do something different in the afternoons. Now, I've been doing this programme for 24 years at Radio 2, and so how can I possibly complain? The support and creative freedom that I'm given is fantastic at Radio 2. And really, I can't hog the slot forever.
Scott Mills fans are also up in arms as he is shunted off Radio 1, the Beeb's youth station, after 24 years. And emotional Mills and his co-host Chris Stark took to the airwaves today to address the shock reshuffle.
Exactly. I'm so proud of you.
Exactly.
And I'm so proud of what we've done together. Like, let's not get emotional now. That's for another time, okay? But I'm feeling weird. I'm also feeling a little bit in denial that this is actually happening. But apparently it is.
So with listeners branding the decision ageist and diabolical, was the BBC wrong to replace Steve Wright with Scott Mills on Radio 2? Let me know your thoughts. Dan at gbnews.uk. Tweet me at gbnews. We've got our poll running there too. The results shortly. But I'm delighted to say we have 3 BBC legends in their own right to weigh in on this now. Former BBC Radio 1 DJ Mike Reid, ex-BBC presenter Peter Purves, and former Radio 1 and Radio 2 presenter David Hamilton. So, David, you think ageism is now sort of the only acceptable form of discrimination at the BBC?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, you can't be sexist, you can't be racist, but it seems that you can be ageist. And I think, I must say, where Steve is concerned, you know, no one has a divine right to broadcast forever. And he's had a good run, 25 years plus. He's been very well paid by the BBC, so he's not short of a bob or two. But on the other hand, you know, listeners don't like change. And I think the presenters develop a bond with the listeners. And when they lose that microphone, it's a bit like losing friends and family. So, you know, it's very tough when it happens.
But, Mike Reid, you think this decision is just all part of the cut and thrust of a ruthless broadcasting industry?
Yeah, it's happened over the years to everyone. I mean, when Wogan went, they said Radio 2 will never be the same. When Jimmy Young went, they said Radio 2 will never be the same. You know, it's the king is dead, long live the king. Very much that. I mean, like any football team, they can't get rid of so-and-so, but the team continues. And I don't think it is ageist, because when you look at someone like Annie Nightingale, who's been doing programs there since 1970 and is still doing them. She's been doing programs for 52 years and is still doing them. Ken Bruce is still doing a great job as well. I mean, he was doing the breakfast show for Wogan when I was doing the breakfast show on Radio 1. So I don't think it is that. I think often, you know, you're subject, as we all know, to the whim of a radio boss that says, do you know what? And you go, yeah, okay. And it is one of those sort of, you know, things that just crops up every now and again.
Well, indeed. But if I was Ken Bruce right now, I'd be feeling really damn nervous. And Peter Purves, isn't the issue that the BBC seems to be purging old white blokes, no matter how popular they are?
Well, I wouldn't say that was the case across the board, but I think David hit it right on the head. Familiarity is what the audience like. And I think it's ageism, pure and simple. People like what they know. And I can't see why Radio 2 should be looking for a different audience or a change of direction. Steve Wright is an excellent radio DJ, and yes, he's had a long chat, but this chat is excellent, intelligent, and on target for a Radio 2 audience. Let's face it, there are 11 million people over the age of 65 in the UK. That's 19% of the total population. And I think that the BBC should consider catering for them and thinking about what they like. And I don't think it should be up to perhaps very young or much younger producers and directors who come in to take over certain areas of the business and putting in their own ideas when it doesn't necessarily fit the pattern of what the audience wants.
Mike Reid, that's a fair point, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, older BBC Radio 2 licence fee payers pay exactly the same amount as a youngster.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. But I think it's getting a team right as well. You know, any radio boss wants to get the right team, like the right football team, and have the right amount of players. But yeah, you know, when Steve, and he'd be the first to agree with this, when Steve started on Radio 2, there was a bit of an outcry like, who is this guy with these weird characters and all these things going on? So I think, like all of us, he struggled for the first 3 or 4 months for acceptance. And we all do that. You know, when I took over the Radio 1 breakfast show, they go, well, where's Tony Blackburn? You know, where's Noel Edmonds? And I remember you sliding into the seat and feeling a bit of a fraud. But you have to win them over. You have to get people gradually to say, yeah, you know, okay, it's different. And it is different. It is a poison chalice taking over from somebody after 24 years to get in there and win people over and hope you don't lose audiences.
David Hamilton, you were actually, I believe, once told that you had lost a job at the BBC because of your age.
Well, it's happened to me a few times, to be honest with you, and probably to all of us at some time or another. I was working for Radio 1, and the controller said to me one day, he said, I'm going to let you go on a free transfer to Radio 2. I said, oh, that's very kind of you. I said, why is that? Why would I be leaving Radio 1? Because at that particular time, Radio 1 was the big pop station in the country. So he said, well, basically, it's a thing of age. So I looked at him. He was wearing a pinstripe suit. I remember that. He was about 15 years older than me. And I knew that his taste in music was The Sound of Music and South Pacific. And my inclination was to say to him, if anybody's too old for the job, it's you, mate. But of course, you don't speak to bosses like that. And of course, I didn't want to be ageist, so I just zipped it.
Very, very good anecdote. I mean, Peter Purvis, what seems so interesting to me is that the BBC was clearly embarrassed about Radio 2. If you remember back about 3 or 4 years ago, there are a whole load of stories about how the lineup was old and white. And so they have purposefully set about to reinvent the station. It's actually led to loads of disasters, though, with the audience. Do you remember they enforced the brilliant Simon Mayo to take a female co-presenter in Jo Whiley? I think they're both great broadcasters in their own right. But they were a complete disaster as a double act, and it actually resulted in him leaving the BBC. So I think the BBC is prepared now to put wokeism and to put diversity ahead of actually what the audience want, and also just who's best to do the job.
That may be right, but I do know that Simon, particularly, he had his afternoon show that was always excellent. I was on it a couple of times and enjoyed it. I liked Simon very much, but I know that he had had enough. He was finding it a bit of a strain. I think he was quite happy to be able to leave it when he did. But they do get it wrong, the BBC. They get it wrong quite often. I mean, look at the wonderful Sue Barker. I mean, she's storming it, running Wimbledon at present, being absolutely marvellous, full of energy and life. She's actually at the top of her form, I would say. Now, it's said that she is standing down, and it's her choice. Well, that may be the case. Well, I don't believe it was the case that she wanted to stand down from Question of Sport. She was marvellous in that. Terrific programme, absolutely marvellous.
That was a disgraceful decision.
Well, a terrible decision. Now, have you seen the show? Well, are you watching the show now? I can't. I find it absolutely...
No way.
I think it's dreadful.
And I did watch it with Sue Barker, actually, in the past. Mike Reid, what do you know about Scott Mills? And how difficult is it going to be for him now? Because he inherits Steve's audience, who aren't going to exactly be delighted to have this bloke there.
Yeah, well, I said it when Steve took over, they thought, who is this guy? You know, because he was doing strange and different things, introducing characters, catchphrases, that very American style. And they were sort of quite against that for quite a while until he won them over. And I guess Scott will do the same. I mean, he's been on there standing in for Ken Bruce. So, he knows what it's about, safe pair of hands. And I guess what you do is get in there, steady the tiller, don't bump into the bank too much, and then just gradually expand yourself, as a person. Just be a nice guy. You can't go on and be another Steve Wright, because Steve was unique in the way that he wrapped things up and presented them. That was his particular talent of being able to bring in quite ordinary things and wrap them like Christmas presents and give them to you like gifts. I mean, he was very, very clever. I mean, we started together and we did characters in the very, very early days, very rough and fun. But, we got fired on a weekly basis. Our boss, Neil French-Bake, said, "You boys are amateurs. I'm firing you." We said, "What have we done?" He said, "That's it. You haven't done anything." But we were just, rebellious. We had our own playlist, and and we somehow came through. We stuck with it. We were told to listen to other people and do what they did. We thought, actually, that's a bit boring. We'll do our own thing, and we did. Luckily, we kind of got away with it, and I was still kind of getting away with it.